Romantic drama.
Well, it's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes.
Convention number 1, plot. And this focuses on chance encounters, divine intervention, and destiny. The idea that some lovers are just meant to be. The two characters usually meet when their lives are up in the air or they're making major transitions. The journey of their relationship is far from easy. Often it follows Todorow's theory of equilibrium, which means problems arise. That means they can't be together. Maybe ex-lovers get involved or they're divided by other reasons, maybe like social class. And this keeps the audience hooked, and they're ultimately rooting for the two lovers to end up together. They need to get through their troubles and face the obstacles to have a happy ever after in the end. To further argue this point, another successful romantic drama followed the same narrative concept of the equilibrium as The Notebook. It prolifically tracks a couple's relationship, skipping across eras, so from youth when they meet to death in a retirement home. It's a tearjerker. Many romantic dramas are tearjerkers, and they ignite emotions, as it represents pure and unconditional love in the plot. Before Sunset's couple, Jesse and Celine, their relationship's very real. It's really believable, and if you're swayed by the concept that there's magic in coincidence, an ordinary man or woman might find themselves striking up conversation on a train. The scenario is very relatable. So Jesse and Celine meeting on a train is a chance encounter. If Jesse had, say, gotten another carriage, they would have never met. This story wouldn't have begun. They wouldn't be lovers. They wouldn't have got married and had kids. So the meeting scene of any romance drama is crucial, as it sets the tone for the rest of the film. The eyes are in the spotlight. As they say, eyes are the window to the soul. They will consist of a lot of close-ups on the face, because this is how to best capture emotion. So you want to see the facial expressions of the people as they're falling in love. So in The Notebook, workman Noah first sets his eye on a classy Southern Belle alley at a fun fair. But, before Noah approaches her, his friend warns him that she might not be interested in humble miner Noah because her dad's got more money than God. Noah's social status becomes an obstacle for the young couple, and his situation is ridiculed throughout the film, mostly by her parents, who are very rich and very materialistic people. Noah wins the audience hearts over by winning Ali and overcoming this difficult time and realising that love is stronger than money and love is stronger than what other people think. Everyone in life will experience attraction. Most people will likely experience the anxiety of worrying about not being good enough for someone. So the content of this romantic drama is very realistic. It's to portray realistic characters and relatable scenarios. Convention 2, opposites attract. It's a popular theme that has inspired thousands of film narratives. Two unlikely people fall for each other, and they can be separated by values, social statuses, or other opposing creeds. Carrying on from The Notebook, where Noah is divided from Ali via class issues. The dividing factor between Linklater's couple, Jesse and Celine, is their nationalities. And with this, it highlights their cultural differences and their morals and what nationalities stand for and as people. So they make digs mostly at Jesse's nationality. Jesse is a true American guy. And in contrast, Celine is a really authentic Parisian woman. So they do have comedic clashes, culturally speaking. And it makes their attraction more entertaining because they haven't really met anyone like each other before. Attract theme is very strong in this genre. I'll give a few examples. Firstly, social class. In Titanic, which saw Jack and Rose separated by their social background. So Rose was from a very rich, affluent background, and Jack was a working class young American man. Race. Robert De Niro's directorial debut, A Bronx Tale. It saw a romantic relationship form between two teenagers, Sonny, who's from an Italian background, and Jane, who's from a Caribbean background. High school/social status. In the 90s teen flick, She's All That. Popular guy Zach fell for nerdy Lainey. Age difference. In the 1965 musical hit, The Sound of Music, young nun Maria fell for Captain Von Trapp. Romantic dramas take viewers on a journey of a couple's highs and lows. Whether their battles be with prejudice, ignorance or jealousy, there's always a collective of people or a character that want to rain on the couple's parade. Convention number 3. Grand romantic gestures. Movies from the 80s were big on grand romantic gestures. In 1989, in Harry Met Sally, Harry ran all the way across town on New Year's Eve to tell Sally how he felt about her, and concluded in a big dramatic "We Belong Together" speech. So the big grand romantic gesture in the Before Sunrise trilogy is from the second film, Before Sunset, in which Julie Delpy tells Jesse exactly how she feels about him. And again, it's with an acoustic guitar and a song that she has written specifically for him. And this is the stage in the relationship and the whole trilogies where they consolidate their relationship, and we know this is how it finishes, they're going to be together. The costume of any romantic drama is obviously reliant on the era the film is set in. As Before Sunset trilogy crosses over a 20-year period, the style changes with this. In 1993, in Before Sunrise, 90s fashion trends are at large. A curtain hairdo, leather jacket and loose jeans. In Before Sunset, it's more contemporary and 2004 styling trends can be identified. And last of all, in Before Midnight, as they have aged and they've adopted a more mature dress sense with it, and it's also modern. Mostly, I'd argue that modern-day romantic dramas consist of average Joes and Mary Jane. So they're relatable characters and they're styled in that way that the masses can identify with. And if they do not draw some similarities to the characters, they are bound to know someone that does. Location plays a big role in romantic dramas. There's always a significant location that's specific to a couple, whether it be a beach, a train station or a cafe. Some films stereotypically use certain locations that are considered romantic, i.e. a candlelit picnic on a beach. Sunset films are set in 3 different locations, each film in a different place. First is Vienna, second is Paris, and third is southern Greece. Meeting places in the film, key significant conversations happen between Jesse and Celine in the development of their relationship, and it's always in a cafe. In the first one, they found a little European cafe in a corner of Vienna, and they sort of opened up to each other and thought, well, I like you. Mutual attraction and mutual gratification. In the second film, they went to a very authentic Parisian cafe, and this is where they had a very significant chat about what they'd been up to. And they found that how their lives had panned out, what they were doing career-wise, and in general just connecting with each other again on a level of understanding. The last scene of the whole trilogy in Before Midnight is in a little Grecian cafe on the beachfront, and it's where they have a talk. It's a serious talk. It's more like talking about the strains of marriage and what they both expected from marriage and a relationship. Jesse tells Celine, life's not perfect, marriage is not perfect, and neither are we. But love isn't perfect. It's a very relatable conversation, it's very real. The sun isn't going to shine all the time, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. They are perfectly imperfect, and a perfect relationship doesn't exist. And again, Linklater is trying to keep the relationship very real, a very real representation. It's a happy ever after, but in a realistic way. So they're still together, they're sticking it out. They have marriage issues, they have things they don't really like about each other anymore, but there's still love there, and that's worth going through thick and thin for. Lighting in romantic dramas. So lighting in romantic dramas mostly consists of high-key lighting. And high-key lighting communicates joy and elation, in contrast to like low-key lighting, which is stereotypically used in a lot of horror films, which creates a very dark and negative atmosphere. Romantic dramas often make use of natural lighting as well, and this just reinforces the normality of the situation. Props in romantic dramas. The closest thing I can think to that would be quite a common factor in a romance drama are visual clues that signify romance visually. Red roses, for instance, and red roses stereotypically given from a lover to a lover. Casting for romantic dramas. It would be true to say that some actors are typecasted for romantic dramas. A big offender of this is Channing Tatum, who has starred in a few big romantic dramas, for example, The Vow and Dear John. There is a method behind this madness, as the film producers need to draw in the audiences, and by doing this they use star persona. So they'll use an actor who is very popular with the masses at the moment and is likely to draw more viewers to the cinema, as Before Sunset was an independent film. Independent filmmaker Linklater had almost total control, therefore he was in charge of the casting. So he picked Ethan Hawke, who was very popular at the time. He starred in a few big 90s and late 80s films, Reality Bites, Dead Poets Society, and a lesser-known French actress, Julie Delpy, who was not known really largely by an American audience, having starred mostly in French cinema. There's two set roles that a romantic drama casting would expect. Typically in Hollywood cinema, a very strong, attractive man, normally with a six-pack, he normally gets his top off quite a bit to show, and a vulnerable, desperate woman. I need a man sort of scenario. They don't tend to challenge gender roles or empower women really on screen. I mean, Before Sunset was unique in itself, as the characters were very complex and they had really great character development. A lot of the time in romantic dramas, they'll loosely touch on the characters, so sort of the simple background information of what they do for a living, maybe introduce a family member, what their family member was like. Whereas Before Sunset went really in depth and spoke about their morals, what they stand for as a person. You sort of it really paints a picture of, you can picture the character in any scenario, and by the end of the trilogies you sort of might know how they might react to anything, which is very rare, and I'd say they're not disposable characters, they're very strong characters in themselves. Sound in romantic dramas. Sound can really enhance a scene. When the right music choice is chosen for a film, it can leave a really long-lasting impression and completely enhance the scene. It can make the scene very iconic. And I will touch on one scene, She's All That, a teenage drama, where Sixpence None the Richer, Kiss Me became a big hit because of one scene. And it was a scene where she's walking down the stairs, she's just changed, she's had a transformation from a nerdy to a really lovely, elegant young lady. As the music begins to play, the camera shot, it zooms into Zach's face to capture his reaction. It's like he's blown away by her beauty, and he's really falling for her, and it just shows in the face. And the song, the content of the lyrics, Kiss Me, it's inferring that something will happen later, they're going to kiss. And the song just makes the scene just runs more smoothly, and it does enhance it, and the feeling of it when you're watching it is like, wow, like what's going on. Song choice is never a coincidence, or it's always got meaning behind the songs that are chosen to feature. A big music moment from Before Sunrise trilogy was in the second film, and its music is often used to close off a film, so it'll be the ending scene. And it's when Jesse is saying to Celine he needs to go catch his plane. They need to say goodbye and part once again. And now at this point they both realise, without saying that, that's not going to happen. They're going to be together. It's going to work out. So Jesse puts on a Nina Simone song, Just in Time, on Celine's CD player. And this is really, really significant because they sort of bond over, they like jazz, they both like jazz music. So they're just going about their business saying, I never got to see her in concert, did you? Just sort of carrying on like a normal situation while this ambient song's playing in the background and there's eye contact going on. And Just in Time, significant because time is all they have. And time is controlling them because he has to get to the airport, they've got to part, they don't know when they'll see each other again. So then again, the song choice is significant. Camera shot choices. As I briefly mentioned earlier, romantic dramas tend to use a lot of close-ups, and this is to capture the emotion because it is an emotional genre. In the Before Sun Rise trilogy, most shots are close-ups to capture emotion of the characters. However, it was in majority mostly shot via tracking shot, as the two characters spent a great deal of time walking around and exploring the cities they were in while having conversation. So Linklater captured the two via tracking shot as they walked down Little Lane, rambling on and getting to know each other. The leading actors, Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke, had a great deal of input into the scripts and the content of what Jesse and Celine would talk about, and how they would create a free-flowing conversation. These long tracking shots, these long takes would go on for quite a while. Some of it was even improvised. So this tracking shots creates a very sort of natural feel. You feel like you're actually walking behind them in real life. You're overhearing about maybe their talks on the life after death or the universe, or where they see themselves in 10 years' time. And this sort of framing with the two in the middle is very symmetrical. You get to see sort of surroundings of the city, so the architecture, so the place of the cinematography to paint a picture of the situation they're in, the location, and how close they are walking together. So all the sort of visual signs, and it all adds up to create this romantic feel. Structure. As I mentioned earlier, the narrative structure that is very common in the genre romantic dramas is Todorow's theory of equilibrium, which entails sort of calm meeting, then there's something up in the air, it's disturbed by certain factors in the story, plot line, and in the end the calm is restored, and it's a happily ever after in most cases. So what makes the Before Sunrise so unique is it's three narratives within one big narrative. I mean, three movies form three different eras of the characters' lives, all in order to complete a complete love story for the couple. There's equilibrium in each film, and then equilibrium on the narrative as a whole. Meaning there's equilibrium in each of the films, and then equilibrium on the narrative as a whole. So the complete love story is one big journey. So in the first film, there's equilibrium at the start. They meet each other. There's disequilibrium throughout the narrative by the feeling that they actually eventually have to part. They have to get on separate trains at the end. In the second instalment, they meet again 9 years later. The equilibrium is Jesse's on a book tour in France, and Celine's come to visit him because she's seen his name advertised around town. In her local bookshop, he is promoting his book. They meet up and they go again walking about the town as they normally do. And the disequilibrium is that he will have to leave. He'll have to catch a plane eventually to go back to the USA. Before midnight. The equilibrium is they're all going on a nice family holiday. The disequilibrium is realising the faults in their relationship, the faults in their marriage, and how they don't get on so well anymore. Calm note, whether they sort of realise the fact that life isn't perfect and relationship and love is not perfect. It's not always an easy ride. So, but they're still together after it all. They're still... The narrative structure of the three films as a whole is very calm. It's a very easy-going film. There's no major events really, just sort of life events which are revealed in their conversations. They meet, they part for 9 years, then they meet again. Then they realise that actually they're a couple, they can't part again, so they stay together. We'll see them again like 10 years later. They have a family, they're married, they're going about their business, have a fairly normal family life. I'm going to talk about a couple of issues that are present in the Before Sunrise trilogy. Firstly, I'm going to speak about gender equality and representation of women. I would say that these films challenges gender equality and is an overall positive representation of a woman. The representation of women in romance films has changed over time, swaying between strong to desperate women, back to desperate women, then strong women again. And what I admired about Linklater's main character, Celine, is that she is a very intelligent, strong and independent woman. She doesn't let her relationship with Jesse define her at all. Mass Hollywood cinema films, they're desperate. The women are sort of, oh, I can't live without a man, like, I need you to complete my life kind of thing. Julie Delpy in herself is a very defiant women's activist, and she contributed largely to the direction of the character, which may explain why the film has a very natural take on a modern woman and relationships. On far too many occasions, especially in Hollywood cinema, women are dumbed down. So they're represented as desperate for a man, incapable of living without a man, ultimately relying on them for support and constant recognition. Such Hollywood films feed off the notion of the Laura Mulvey's male gaze theory, in which she states that cinema denies women human identity, relegating them to the status of objects to be admired for physical appearance. The theory suggests women can, more often than not, only watch a film from a secondary perspective and only view themselves from a man's perspective. Therefore, there'll be very lingering shots of women in hardly any clothes. Choice of actress will be very blonde, very tall, have big bosoms, and her looks will be exploited and put on a pedestal, and sort of sending out the message that this is it, this is a perfect woman, this is how girls should look, this is body image to look up to. If you're not like this, you won't get the guy. Focuses largely more on what's outside more than what's inside of the character. So beauty takes precedence over intelligence or humour or any other sort of other personality trait rather than how they look. So the characters are largely characters that men in general would want to date and look at in a real life scenario, so they can fantasize over while they're watching on the silver screen. This would be evident in women showing up in more skin, selling a film, but more so selling sex to a male audience. Even though the films are mostly the genre is marketed towards women, they'll still show more flesh than males on screen. Deeply conveying messages is how women should act. Expect to see her more naked than you, sexualizing the woman form, not focusing on her quality or what she has to offer as a person, as a character. For example, meaningful dialogue or a great sense of wit. And these old-fashioned norms are exhibited through certain romance dramas. For example, so in the 2011 film Water for Elephants, it featured a scene where protagonist Jacob invaded a woman's privacy by spying on her. He was watching her get undressed for a curtain, and this sets a very sexy tone for the film. It's a very hot scene. And I wondered if the tables would turn and it was actually Marlena spying on Jacob. How would that come across to the audience? I'm thinking it would be is something not very seen very much on cinema. I think she would be perceived as creepy, and they'd label her a bit of a weirdo, a bit of a pervert. It sort of sends out the idea that maybe it's okay for a man to spy on a woman, getting undressed and sort of sexualizing them, but if a woman was to do it to a man, it wouldn't be as effective because of how we've seen throughout films. We're used to seeing men being more dominant over women, and largely this portrays the idea that that's not normal behaviour for a woman, but as a man watching an object of his desire, it's sexy. It's women don't have their own minds in many romantic dramas. They are totally dedicated to the man and getting the man, sometimes even going to the lengths of changing themselves, how they look, their appearance. So, for example, a transition from nerd to hot girl to get the guy. So it sends out the message. Men won't like normal girls. They'll always go for the fit, attractive girl. Therefore, this also brings up a few body image issues where representation of women is very fake. Non-realistic women, you wouldn't see them in the street. You wouldn't see Megan Fox walking down the street, or you wouldn't see her on the bus reading a book. Hollywood filmmakers will try and present the perfect woman, focusing and emphasizing the body features that attract men, and that attracts men for sexual purposes. In Before Sunrise, what attracts Jessie the most is the ability to hold a conversation with Celine and find out about her life, what she studies. She's a very intelligent woman. She's a very career-driven woman, and this attracts Jessie more. There was a study conducted a couple of years ago that looked at romantic dramas that were made between 1984 and 2014, it showed that 88% of the films were directed by men, and only 12% of women had directed a romantic drama. Therefore, it would actually represent what men value, what their take on a woman is, rather than what a natural take on a woman is. Also, because it showed a bit of ageism as well in the industry. It showed that male actors were a lot older and still landing parts where the counterparts, the actresses, were very young, and there was a big age gap. And it's kind of debilitating to women, knocks the confidence as they get older. It's quite predatory as well. It sort of sends out the messages that guys can go for younger girls. And I mean a lot younger, like with a 20 years difference between the actors when there didn't need to be an age difference at all.